money. It's the most money a lot of people will ever spend in their
Right.
lives. And so
Mm,
there's like some sensitivity to that, and I can definitely empathize because I used to be so uncomfortable even talking about money or talking about things I may owe or what my credit is, and
yeah.
especially in our community too, it's difficult because if you don't know, you're thinking, oh, I have 650 credit. My credit score sucks.
Right.
Like you just don't know who are you
What
gonna
your
ask?
options are.
Yeah, and so you have to have a level of empathy going into it, and because people are easily taken advantage of all the
Right.
time,
Yeah.
and then if they're not, they're coming already with a level of defense
Mhm.
because it's like I don't know what I'm doing, and I know
Mhm.
this is a big deal,
Mhm. Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I'm giving you all my trust to make
Yeah.
sure that I don't
Yeah.
regret this decision at the end of the day.
How did you become?
Hey, y'all, and welcome to Let's Talk Sis. I'm Shekinah, your host, and as we spend time together, I can promise you three things. I'll be honest, I'll make you laugh, and I won't hold back. Let's Talk Sis is your essential girl talk destination where you'll hear about life from the perspective of a black woman in America, as our stories often go untold. I can assure you, while honest, we are a community for growth and love. Remember to like, subscribe, and share the podcast. Now sit back, relax, and let's talk, sis.
All right. Hello, family, and welcome back to another episode of Let's Talk Sis. Hey, y'all, I'm so excited. This week, if you're listening, you might hear a familiar voice. And if you haven't, go check us out on YouTube so you can see and finally, well, you might put a face to this name. You've probably seen her before, but under new last name, I have with us Megan Jones. Hey, Megan, welcome back.
Hello, welcome to me.
How you doing, girl?
Good. I can't complain at all. I'm doing really good. How are you?
I am great. I'm great. I'm excited to be here, excited to chat with you. So, before we get into it, I'm going to read y'all just a little bit. I like to introduce my guests, give them all the kudos and props that are due. So, I'm going to read her bio. Meet Megan, a dedicated real estate agent based in sunny West Palm Beach, Florida. As a proud FAU graduate and an Air Force veteran, Megan's commitment to excellence, integrity, and service is second to none. Megan's passion for service continued after her military career through her career in healthcare administration and the nonprofit sector. With the help of her husband, she pursued her entrepreneurial dreams full time and co owns Divine Wall Murals, a vertical wall printing company that specializes in high quality murals and shares art in an innovative fashion throughout the community, while also pursuing her love for real estate and helping families buy, sell, and invest in properties. Megan's mission is to build a community and help families create generational wealth through real estate with excellent communication skills, professionalism, and personal dedication to her clients. Megan is the perfect agent to take you all the way to closing. In addition to being a real estate agent, Megan is an active community member who always gives her time to various leadership organizations, philanthropic efforts, and sits on the board for the young professionals of the Black Chamber of Commerce. She also curates events that educate, inspire, and motivate the community on the importance of home ownership and other related topics. Megan's contagious energy, strong work ethic, and genuine desire to help others achieve their dreams make her stand out in the industry. Whether you are buying, selling, or investing in properties, Megan is committed to helping you build your legacy in the most elite way possible. Hey, girl. Yes, we love all of that. So today, I wanted to get Megan on the pod because I wanted to talk about pretty much what we discussed there in the bio, her career in real estate, and just kind of breaking down some common questions and stigmas about the real estate industry and really getting into that. So, before we get into the conversation, we want to set the mood for a really good conversation with our candles. So, Megan, tell us a little bit about your candle, the scent, and what that scent does for you.
Okay, so my candle is lavender and oak. As you can see, I have used it. Okay, it's about halfway already, but lavender is always like so calming to me. Like it's always my go-to, but it can't just be like on its own. And so the oak gives like some like manly type of vibes with the lavender.
I was gonna say I like that. I don't think I've had anything with that combination. I've had like a lavender and I've had like oak woodsy kind of thing, but I think that goes together.
Right, giving like teak wood, but
not.
Right.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, I'm gonna have to look for one of those. So I have an aloe and bergamot candle burning. I didn't really know too much about bergamot scented things, but I love it. It smells it's like yummy. That's the best word for me to describe it. It's like, I just want to like give it a big hug. I found it in Target the other day and I was like, oh yeah, I need to get that. So that's burning. So if y'all have your candles burning, let me know what scent you got going right now. Put it in the comments so we can up our candle game, okay? So before we get going, I just want to ask you a little icebreaker question. You're a new mom, so tell me, what is your favorite part about being a mom, but something that you were a little surprised by, like, oh, I actually love this.
Oh man, something I was surprised by. Okay, so let me see. How is it being a new mom? I love it. I feel like at ease with it. Like I feel like we were prepared for this, you know? Um, like I think I was talking to you like early on when we were catching up just about how it's like I have so many tabs open in my life already, and then he came and I just opened another tab and we just keep on going.
Yes.
But my favorite part right now is the fact that like he like forces you to just stop and slow down, like because our lives are just super super busy always, and purposefully so. And so him coming, I already was like, oh, he's just gonna go everywhere with us, we're just gonna be busy, which we are. But the intentionality of, if he wants our attention, like everything stops, and that's totally completely fine.
Okay.
Yeah, that surprised me a little bit because I
Keep going.
I don't slow down, but
Yeah,
so it's been really good.
that's awesome. I love that for you because we've had previous podcast conversations about how the intentionality of stopping a little bit can be a little bit challenging for the both of us, and like actually just sitting in the moment and meditating. So I love that your son is bringing that opportunity to you, forced it whether you wanted to or not, but also though that you're enjoying that moment that you pause, because it could for some people probably be a bit frustrating or out of the whack. So I love that you love that. So that's awesome. So let's get into it. So tell me, Meg, a little bit, take me back to the moment, you kind of decided to get into the real estate, business. What was that decision for you, and what led you to pursue this career?
Yeah, well, I think it kind of was just an opportunity that I fell like head first into. Originally wanted to get into real estate because all I knew was I wanted to own my own property. And at the time, going on 3.5 years ago, I knew nothing about that process at all. And so I had the opportunity to get my license for free, because I had just got out the military. And they were offering veterans free real estate license at this particular school. And so when I went, again, it was with the intention like, oh, I'm just going to learn everything I need to do. And then myself and my partner at the time, we're going to be able to just, help ourselves and purchase a home.
Okay.
I started doing it and I was like, wow, I really like this. Like, I really like this. And it wasn't supposed to be something that was full time. I was in healthcare and I was in the transition from working internal medicine to working community health, which is something I was really passionate about. But with community health is nonprofit, and you don't always have funding for the positions, and that's kind of what happened. Like my position lost the funding before I could even really start, and I didn't have a plan B. and I normally always have a plan B, but I had just got my real estate license. And so my husband always been an entrepreneur. And so he was like pushing me, you can do it. You can work for yourself. I was terrified. I'm pretty sure I cried for like a whole month
That's
and
it.
in protest. Every day I woke up just like, oh my God, what am I gonna
Yeah.
do? And so then I just was like, I still was doing the work. Let me find a brokerage. Let me figure out who I'm going to learn from so that, if I'm going to do it, I want to do it well. And it took me like 3 months of like hitting the ground running,
Yeah.
literally from Miami to Port St. Lucie, putting miles on my car for me
Yeah.
to just get consistent and really build my business. And yeah.
What did you like about it? You were like, you said were like, at first it's just for me to get educated, but then you're like, okay, I like this. What was that? I like this. What was that for you?
I think a major part of why I'm still doing it is just like the flexibility of making it whatever you want it to be, right? I didn't know, I had never experienced anything outside of you go into a 9 to 5 and they tell you this is what you do, this is your role, X, this is what you do every day, your tasks,
Right.
etc. In the space of entrepreneurship in general, but for real estate, it's never been a day where it's the same thing. Like even if I might be doing
Mm-hmm.
similar things that are surrounded with real estate, all the even out of all the transactions, I've sold almost $6 million in real estate.
Almost 6 million.
There's not been one transaction that's the same ever,
Yeah, it all
and
looks different.
and I like that because I feel like I'm constantly now being put in a position where I'm challenged and I have to really like think proactively,
Mm-hmm.
so that way I can really be solution oriented, and I think it helps in different areas.
Okay, I love that. So you've been a real estate agent for how long now?
For 3.5 years.
Okay. So what's something that you learned early on, in your interactions with clients or even just in your whole education process of it that still informs how you engage with people today and that you think, you'll take with you throughout your career?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing is really meeting people where they are. A lot of the times, people just don't know.
Yeah.
If you hear real estate, you can build wealth with it. You can have doors, and there's so many different catchphrases
Very.
that people
Yeah.
throw around, especially on social media, that it's overwhelming. And so when
Mm-hmm.
someone asks you the question, why don't you own, or how do you not know,
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
steps? For me, I always approach everyone like I don't know where you are,
Mm-hmm.
and I want to, be able to leave a little something, or
Mm-hmm.
teach you something that you may not have thought of. Not, I need you to work with me and buy real estate because everybody should be an owner and blah 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 blah. Like meeting
Mm-hmm.
people where they are is what I've learned the most. Just so that way I'm able to help someone who's ready to go in 30 to 90 days, or someone who in the next 2 years will connect again, and then I'll finally be able to help you. So
I love that approach. It's such I want to use the word human approach, because like you said, there are so many people who are trying to just simply sell you a house. And while at the core, that's the goal ultimately, I think people can really appreciate somebody who, like you said, just respects where I'm at in that whole process and that whole understanding and the added value of your intention initially is really to give me something, right? To let me walk away with a little piece of education or confidence or reassurance or whatever it might be, understanding my budget or just how the whole game works, and I think clients really can appreciate working with somebody like that because it just doesn't feel one-sided, right? It doesn't feel like you want something from me, you want me to just pick a house just so you can get a commission, you know what I mean? It's like you truly are invested because this is a big deal, especially for a lot of people who aren't just investment owners, like people who are buying their first homes or maybe even their second home. But at the end of the day, it's like, this is where my family will reside and a lifestyle now that is created out of this one interaction and engagement with you.
yeah, and you deal with a lot of money. It's the most money a lot of people will ever spend in
Right.
their lives. And so
Mm.
there's like some sensitivity to that, and I can definitely empathize because I used to be so uncomfortable even talking about money or talking about things I may owe or what my credit is, and
Yeah.
especially in our community too, it's difficult because if you don't know, you're thinking, oh, I have 650 credit. My credit score sucks.
Right.
Like you just don't know who are you
What
gonna.
your options are.
Yeah. And so you have to have a level of empathy going into it, and because people are easily taken advantage of all the
Right.
time.
Yeah.
And then if they're even if they're not, they're coming already with a level of defense because it's like I don't know what I'm doing, and I know
Mhm.
this is a big deal,
Mhm. Mhm.
and
Mhm.
I'm giving you all my trust to make
Yeah.
sure that I don't
Yeah.
regret this decision at the end of the day.
How did you become comfortable talking about money, and then how do you make clients comfortable, in your engagement with them? What are some things you implement?
Um, how I became comfortable, honestly, is just being uncomfortable and over again, and
Yeah.
having those difficult conversations. And I feel like my approach anyways is one, I've been where you are,
Uh-huh.
no matter where you are, like I'm not judging you. And I think that's the biggest takeaway, like from the very beginning of the conversation. I want you to know that I'm not here to judge you. I'm here to help you.
Mm-hmm.
And by being completely 100% transparent and honest with you,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like eventually their layers start to come off because people just they want people to give them a little bit of positivity sometimes. Like
Mm-hmm.
tell me
Mm-hmm.
that I'm actually doing a good job towards my goal. And if
Yeah.
I'm not, I'm a realist. I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I'm going to be that friend who is going to hold you accountable and let you know, yeah, you probably should stop, spending money on this credit card. And
Mm-hmm.
because you can't come to me and tell me you want to buy a house. And then a year later, I'm checking in on you, you're in the exact same position.
And you're doing the same thing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And so I just try to approach it from that way. I don't want anybody ever to feel like I'm judging them at all, but I'm just very honest.
Yeah,
And
gotta hold people accountable. Because at the end of the day, both of y'all want something, right? You claim, at least you claim you want something. You claim you want a home. I want to help you get a home. Obviously, I want a commission as the sales agent, but that's beside the point. And so if we're trying to both get to our goals, we do have to hold each other accountable. And I'm sure too, you have to allow your clients to hold you accountable. If you say, you're gonna have certain paperwork or a certain type of showing or whatever, your promises are, they expect you to deliver. And that's part of you, I'm sure, building your brand as you're in your community, and as other people recommend you. It's like, no, Meg does what she says she's going to do. And she helped me do what I said I was going to do too. So that's really big. So how do you stay motivated, right? In a career such as real estate, it's so cyclical. There's so many factors, right, that I'm sure play into a successful career. So what are some of those things that you do to just keep your foot in the game?
yeah. A few things, right? Because there's been plenty of times where I'm like, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm transitioning. This is just too much. I think on the very top thing above everything is that I don't give myself a choice.
Okay.
Like after I passed 1 year in being a full-time entrepreneur, I was ready to go and do something else. And that's just because my mind, I think, I challenge myself. I met those challenges, and then I sometimes get bored, and so I have to push past that and challenge myself further and see what else I can do in it. And so not giving myself a choice and just saying like it's gonna work or it's gonna work and that's it was like is one of the major things that me and my husband say all the time, even with our other business. Like we give once you start giving yourself choices, like, oh, okay, maybe go get another job, or maybe I have this to fall back on, then you really do fall back on that instead of seeing like what those possibilities are.
Yeah,
You push yourself and really hold yourself, to what you say you're going to do. um
that's really good. Sorry, keep going.
no, you're fine. No, you're
I was going to say, that's a really good point, because you you mentioned like, okay, I could get bored and kind of just just getting by, right? And just like, well, I made my 40 phone calls, okay, or I did my 5 showings, or whatever those like little benchmarks or goals are. It's like, okay, I'm just kind of checking the boxes of this whole entrepreneurial thing, but am I really challenging myself? Am I really pushing myself? Okay, instead of 40, why not 80 calls? Or instead of 5 showings, why not 10? Or whatever, whatever it is, kind of upping the ante in a manageable way, right? In a way that still gives respect to the fact that you need to give things quality time to make sure you're producing something good, but not giving yourself an out or these excuses to not do something. Like, even for me with this podcast, I think that was one of my biggest things too, was like, oh, well, I'm tired, or I don't feel like it, or I have to edit. That's always my thing. Like, I don't feel like editing this thing. But like, no, I have to do it. I have 52 episodes that are coming out this year, period. Like, that's just, it just is what it is. So okay, now let's retrofit that. What do I need to do to make it easier for me to hit that benchmark no matter what? Okay, line up guests, list out all these guests, so you constantly have this pool of people that you can set recording times with. And then when you edit, give yourself the time to do it. Don't feel like you always have to rush through getting it. It's gonna take you at least 3 hours, girl. Just own it, accept it, deal with it, move on, right? And get that out of your head. So like, I even had to do that, for myself. So that's a really, really good point and like helpful tip for people.
I think other than that, it's just like a lot of time you can't expect to always be able to hold yourself accountable. Like, that's just not really realistic, And so throughout the time, it's always, who can I reach out to that's going to hold me accountable for something? Like, whether it's my husband or my business partner or a mentor, like, because oftentimes, and what I've realized in this past year or two, when I felt friction within myself, or some type of frustration where I'm like, oh, this feels uncomfortable, I don't want to do this, I audibly told myself, oh dang, that means I have to do it. Like, if I'm in a space where I'm like, ooh, this is uncomfortable, I'm like, dang, we're at that point, we're at that peak. I gotta push through this part, because this means that this is the other side of the growth, and and so I've been trying to do that. I'm always, every year, I'm always like, what is the next habit I need to do that's going to make me more aware of where my next level is going to go. And so, yeah, just, I think it's exciting when it comes to entrepreneurship that we can be so creative.
Yeah.
It doesn't always have to be, I'm going to do 5 showings, or I'm going to, go to this networking event. Even when we were here locally, we were doing, going to nonprofits and volunteering and those kind of things, to be in the room with people, because you never know what different opportunities will come from that. And so
that's really good. That's a good point.
Yeah, just doing things different.
That's a good point. So doing things different, 1, and then 2, developing your community of accountability partners. And I think a lot of times with entrepreneurship, it feels lonely, right? Especially if you have a new idea, like, for example, divine wall murals. That's a totally revolutionary, like, ain't nobody doing that, barely anybody doing it in America, and I doubt in South Florida, you know what I mean? So it can feel like, well, I'm the only one who understands this thing, but that's only if you're getting real granular and real specific. But if you open yourself up to the possibility of, well, entrepreneurship is entrepreneurship, right? These other entrepreneurs can, I'm certain, relate to whatever those struggles are about doing things differently, or getting outside of the box, or continuing, and even if you feel uncomfortable. So that is so important, to just insulate yourself with people who support what you're doing, and they don't always necessarily have to see the vision of exactly where you're trying to go with it. Like, especially for me, I'm talking about people, I want to do a podcast. I was like, well, do you make money from that? Like, yes, eventually I have to get sponsorships and different ads, and that's a whole nother game that a lot of people just don't understand, because people just don't do it. But that doesn't mean that people can't, okay, are you recording? Did you get your episode in this week? Did you edit? Are you doing your clips and all that stuff? So it's really important. And I just want to encourage, any other entrepreneurs or people starting projects or whatever, don't think that just because it's in your head that other people can't potentially help you and, contribute to whatever you have going on.
Absolutely.
So I want to ask you, tell us a little bit about the real estate market as it exists in right now. What kind of things should we be looking for, or should we be concerned with when it comes to purchasing homes?
Mm. Well, I'm always a person. I don't think anybody you should be concerned with anything. Like I really don't. I think that you have to know what your particular situation is, right?
Okay.
Every single person is different. A lot of the times when someone asks me, oh, how is the market? Well, people are still buying and selling real estate, and people are always buying and selling real estate. That's always the market.
That's good.
Things are up, but everything is up. Gas
Yeah.
is up, food is up. But when you break it down to like in a smaller sense, I live and I work in South Florida, and we're like one of the most expensive markets in the United States, right? And so, but real estate is still moving. It it depends on who you are, right? I hear on one end that there's people who live and work in Palm Beach County who can't afford to live here, who can't afford to purchase here, just because that's just how the population is is changing so rapidly. The amount of millionaires and billionaires that are moving here, not to mention our soon to be president he lives here, it just makes for an interesting real estate market. But
Yeah.
everybody wants to live here and be here still.
Yeah, I love that. I really love that perspective, because a lot of times I feel like if you were to ask that question to a lot of other agents, you would have hit me with some statistics or some headline or some theory about buying or selling or whatever, and that's just so simple. Like, don't what are you concerned about? It is what it is. People are buying, they're selling, and you get in where you fit in. And it's not a dismissive mindset, but I think it's just a perspective change. If you want to be worried, if you want to be concerned and constantly point out the problems or identify the camps of it all, I mean, that's where you're just gonna stay. That's where you're gonna live, no pun intended. But if you are identifying the opportunities in the market, that is where you will thrive, whether you're the buyer or the seller or just somebody looking to start up the conversation. You can discourage yourself, by paying attention. Well, eggs is $20, and gas is $15 a gallon, and and go on and on and on and on. But again, it's not to dismiss those things, but it does mean, okay, well, let me get with the professional who can help me position myself within the state of X, Y, and Z, so that I can still get what I want. And maybe I get, instead of a 3 bath, I get a 2.5, or, instead of a big backyard, it's just a little smaller one for now. But, you have to change your perspective, on certain things if that is ultimately your goal.
Yeah, I really think that we're in a place where you have to be strategic, and that's kind of how it always has been, especially as far as long as I've been in real estate, that's how it's always been, and I don't necessarily know if everybody approaches it that way, but strategic in a sense where, if you have something in your mind that you want, then and you might not be in the position necessarily to get it, then what is it that you're going to do and change your circumstance so that you can? Because we are in a space where, things are up, but they're continually going up in every way. And so you have to think like, okay, if I want this, so how much more income do I need? How much more work do I need to put in? So that way it matches with the lifestyle that I want. And then if you can't get that, if you can't, navigate that, how can I bring people together, bring community together, bring my family together, bring, trusted friends to be able to still accomplish what I want? Right. I think that we've always been in a space where multi-generational housing is something that people don't take advantage of enough, especially in our community, where you can literally put family members together, a mom, a daughter, a sister, a brother, like we can all get a house together. and then we
Yeah.
buy that house together, and we live in it for a year, we stack or we pull equity out and we get the next house. That's something that other people do in other cultures, and I think that we just don't have much trust in our community a lot of the times to do it. But then if you're not going to, then how you gonna get that? How you gonna stack? How you gonna get that money? What other income? Because one income is not enough.
That is such an awesome strategy, and you're right. We don't have that communal sense, and we could have a whole nother episode on why, that is systems, society, da, 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 da. But as it is a fact of the matter, we don't see aunties, grandma, and cousin living together anymore. It's really just, oh well, you got out at 18, and from now on you you figure it out for yourself. And so I think that's such a great conversation to have around what are the creative ways that we can work together as a community to get what we want, and do it in a way that's smart, that's still well, strategic. Lord, that word almost took me out. That's still strategic, and and we don't necessarily have to settle. Yeah, it may take a little bit longer, but if you really think about it, if you was doing it on your own, it's gonna take real long. You know what I'm saying? So that's awesome. And so such a great point, that child I would have never thought of myself, but that's also why I'm not the real estate professional. Hello. So tell me a little bit about some misconceptions that people have. We kind of tapped on it a little bit, but when it comes to home ownership, and is it for everybody?
I think one of the biggest things that I'm surprised people still have a misconception about is how much money you need. Like,
Mm-hmm.
most times people are like, oh, 20% down. And, now granted, you can't buy a house with no money. You
Right.
need something. But you
Amen.
don't need, $100,000 because,
Yeah.
in reality, you're looking at what, a $500,000 house? Uh,
Mm-hmm.
You don't need all that. You
Right.
really don't. And so, I think that's a big misconception. You save yourself up $5,000 to $10,000, and you are already so much more prepared to move forward with, purchasing your first home than you can imagine. Um,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
and that's a lot of money to a lot of people still, but it's not 20%.
Right. So let me ask you this, because I'm thinking of one as I'm talking,
Mhm.
because I know sometimes these misconceptions typically come from lack of information, right? So, what is the process to ask these questions, to get involved with a real estate agent? Because I know for a long time, like for me, I thought you might have to pay just to get this information. You have to, well, if I get a realtor or a real estate agent, I might have to pay something. Somebody gonna ask me for something, right? So talk to me a little bit about that process, because I know that probably also hinders a lot of people from even engaging in the whole thing, because it's like, I mean, I ain't got look $300 in the bank, and then if I come to you, you're gonna be charging me an hourly fee just to tell me what I need to do, and then I still know how, so what is that process like?
That's good. That's good because I do think that it deters a lot of people. People feel like they're gonna be wasting my time if they
Or
ask.
that, yeah.
Yeah, I don't. It's my approach. Like, honestly, you just have to have the conversation. If you see me on social media, if you see me in person, if you have my number, like, it's literally just, hey, I was thinking about this, and if it's already at the top of your mind, that's the point and when you want to start asking the questions. If it popped up in your head, you can do your own research. Of course, we have Google and AI, and then you can have a whole conversation with ChatGPT.
Yeah.
But it's the same thing. You just have the conversation. Just ask the question. And
Yeah.
and honestly, I love it so much, and I do this like on a daily, that I appreciate people who put that foot forward and is like, hey, I just want to um you know gain this knowledge of something, a big choice. It's free. It's
Mm-hmm.
100% free to talk, to get the information, to figure out where you are and if it makes sense. Because we can't work together if it doesn't make sense.
Right.
And I'm gonna be asking you questions, and so it
Mm-hmm.
has to be like a mutual. I really build like a relationship with the people who
Mm-hmm.
come to me, because it's not just you come to me when you're ready. Like, you have to come to me when you're ready to have the conversation of, is this realistic or not? Let's make a plan together. And
That's so good.
I feel like that's the best way to do it anyways,
Mhm.
because then you're working with someone who you trust, who you really feel like, okay, we can get through this.
So go before you're ready. Go before you're, even if you're not ready, if you are ready, but still just go and have the conversation, because we need to dispel the stigmas. We need to dispel the mistruths and the misunderstandings. And I would say, if you come across a real estate agent who's making you feel like, oh, you asking me questions is a waste of time, that's not the person you need to be working with anyway.
Absolutely not.
This, like you, this is oftentimes the most amount of money people are spending. It is a life changing decision, right? Like, this is a big freaking deal, people, and it should not feel transactional. I'm receiving that now in this moment, because I'm not ready to purchase a home, but I know it's something I want to do, and I know I have questions, around it, and how do I get to begin to position myself. And I do feel intimidated by that factor of, well, I'm not buying nothing, so why even have engaged in that conversation? Or I'm not ready, so why even engage in that conversation? And that's just simply not helpful, right? It's just not helpful, because then, God forbid, you get in a position and you do have the money or the credit score or this and that, and some shark swoops in and now takes advantage of you, because they're trying to make that quick sale, and you didn't take the time to develop that relationship. So anybody who has desires to own a home, whether that's now or 10 years from now, reach out to somebody or real estate agent, to ask those questions. So what would make me say, okay, this is a good person I should work with. This is a good real estate agent. And is it real? Do I just go to realtors.com? Do I just Google real estate agents in my area? Like, what do I do?
I mean, all of the above. It's hard to say, you know, who's a good real estate agent, because this is the thing, right? Everybody runs their business their own. You have to realize that every realtor that you meet, a lot of people have their real estate license. That does not mean that they're a realtor, and it
It's
doesn't
a
mean that they
difference.
know how to run a business. A realtor and a real estate agent. So a realtor, we are part of a national association of realtors. Like, we pay fees, we follow laws, codes of ethics, have training. Like, we actually put forth that effort to make sure that we know what we're doing in the business. But there's some people out here who are licensed and are not realtors.
Catch that.
And so there's that, right? So I feel like that's a really good determining factor on, is it someone who is really putting forth that effort to educate themselves so they can educate me? And then
Mm-hmm.
after that, just someone that you can communicate with.
Mm-hmm.
Like you were saying, you don't want to feel like you're wasting someone's time. You don't want to feel like, you're asking too many questions, and you want it to be, where you can feel like you can trust that person and really communicate with them effectively. Other than that, it has to be just up to you on whether or not it's a match. It's a
Yeah.
personality match. Yeah.
Love that. Those are really great points. I don't think a lot of people know the distinction between a realtor and a real estate agent. And, you speaking of the code of ethics, that's huge, right? That's, again, major life changing decision. I don't want to work with somebody who's just trying to take my money, just trying to make a sale, get a commission real quick. I want somebody who's going to ethically do the right things for me, by me, and with me. And they're not shady practices. They're backed by uh, um, what's the word I'm looking for? Certified entities. I don't know, maybe if that's the right term, but they have some collateral and some things that can further support, the quality of the work and the exchange that we will have. So, okay, so just one of my last questions. When before I go into this meeting with the realtor, and before I ask all these questions, are there things that maybe I should do on my own so that I come prepared, and that I'm not also wasting my time in that conversation?
Absolutely. You should know what your credit is. And everybody should. Whether or not you're looking to buy a house, rent a place, you should know what your credit is. You should, on a routine basis, at least annually, pull your credit report, which is free on literally freecreditreport.com. And like, Credit Karma has credit
Credit
reports
Karma.
that are free.
Mm-hmm.
You should know what your credit is, and know that if you have anything below like a 580, then you're not going to qualify to purchase a home.
Mm-hmm.
It's 580 and above, and then you should know what your income is. I call it CIA, So if you remember the CIA, you know what your credit is, you know what your income is, and you know how much assets you have. So that's those are the three basic things that you should know. Because if I'm gonna have a conversation with you and you're even thinking about buying, that's what I'm gonna
Right.
ask.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's excellent. That's easy. That's digestible. CIA, credit, income, assets. And some of us ain't got no assets, so that last one taken care of for you. Boom. Easy. Okay, Megan, thanks, girl. This was a very informative conversation. I learned a lot. And, I'm sure people listening have learned a lot. And it's been encouraging. I think there's so much going on in the world right
Yeah.
now. New presidents, there's fires on one end of the country and snow on the other. And it's just like people are being displaced left and right and really just trying to figure out, their place in this world. And this conversation can sometimes just feel discouraging, especially if you're not ready or in a position or even understanding of this whole thing. And so thank you for, just shedding some light and really encouraging the folks.
And to the point, not everybody. I'm a realtor and I sell real estate, but not everybody is supposed to need to purchase real estate. It's such a huge thing, like I was saying on social media, and a trend sometimes that people are like, you need to purchase. What are you doing? You need to build wealth, but just know that it's not for everybody. It's a huge responsibility,
Yes.
and sometimes it's okay to not want to take on that responsibility if it makes sense for your pockets and your peace of mind. I help with rentals too all day. So
Okay. Yes.
yeah.
So, Let's Talk Sis is all about having the hard conversations, having conversations around different things that affect us in our community. So, what conversation do you want to challenge our listeners to have, with the folks in their community, given what we spoke about today?
Yeah. A couple things. Main thing is I think we need to have the conversation about what financial health and wealth really look like in our community. Um, Not shy away from, if you made mistakes in the past with your credit, with your money, things like that. Because the only way that we're going to build our wealth and really build our community together is having those hard conversations and then learning from them and then being able to, really help each other establish ourselves in the community. So, yeah.
Cool. Perfect. Go out and have that talk and let us know, how did it go? What did y'all talk about? What were some of the points that came up, in that conversation around financial health and wealth? And because I know it's going to be different, in every household. And hopefully we find some synergies, but also hopefully we kind of see what other people are thinking. Leave it in the comments, DM me, DM Megan. Let us know how that went for you. Megan, please let the people know where can they find you, what are you working on, all the things.
Yeah. As you're saying, I'm a full entrepreneur. So I'm real estate and I own a Divine Wall Mural. So for real estate, you can find me on all social medias at Move with Meg or Divine Wall Murals is our vertical wall printing company. With Move with Meg, I'm actually doing my third annual manifestation event where we're gonna have uh, keynote speakers. We're going to have panelists from the community talking about community and wealth and leadership and real estate in Palm Beach County. But also for Divine, we're having a grand opening February 1st for the Revere Beach Firehouse for some of our artwork. And so a lot of things are happening and I'm excited. And so, yeah, just stay tuned and DM me if you guys are interested in anything.
Yes, that sounds so awesome. Congratulations on all of your success that has happened and that is to come. We will definitely have you back on the pod in the future when you got your $100 million under your belt. That'll happen soon. And to all of our listeners, thank y'all for tuning in. We appreciate you coming back every single week. And please share this conversation with somebody you know who's looking to buy a home, interested. Y'all been talking about and sending each other Zillow homes back and forth. Please share this episode because I'm sure they can gain something. Leave us a comment. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast. Okay, that's how we grow. That's how we continue to bring you this excellent content. And thank y'all. Thank y'all for listening. We will see you next week. Bye-bye.